Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unfiltered. My name is Matthew. It's been a while, a lot has happened, and I am going to discuss Heartstopper and depression associated with watching the show. Not to say the show is bad at all. In fact, I think it's one of my top shows ever that I have watched because you get the sense of this magical feeling when watching the show about love. And I never considered myself a sappy person, but I realized how much through watching the series I've kind of stopped myself from experiencing because I felt I never could experience it in this way. And that's not to say my current relationship with my boyfriend that I don't experience these things, but I realize it's a product of our environment. And this is not going to be a review. I watched all three seasons, and I hope there's going to be a fourth. We'll get into that. I probably will do a review later on of the series as I kind of reflect and let it marinate in my mind. But I just want to start off here by saying this series deals with a lot of things, especially in season three. Uh, I adore the cast and what they have done here, especially the writing. And it's based on a graphic novel, I believe, which is not yet finished, by the way. So it makes it complicated what's going to happen potentially if it's renewed for the fourth and final season. So I hope that Netflix does this because Netflix has a history of just canceling things. In fact, I consider them like a graveyard of unfinished content, which makes it really hard in the long run to feel invested besides a few shows that you know are going to at least be finished, which is like, for example, Stranger Things. Like, okay, this show is going to be finished. But there are far few in between shows on Netflix that you actually feel are going to get a fair conclusion. And I pray that Heartstopper is just one of those because you really get connected to the story of Charlie and Nick here and the other characters that surround them, the friendship. So I think that what's interesting about Charlie and Nick's relationship is it feels very magical. It's something that I would want to experience when I was young. I'm 42 years old. I'm a gay man, and the way this show kind of does little illustrations like of leaves flying when they're, feeling in love and when their hands touch just slightly that there's sparks there. Just that experience of having that intimacy with a person for the first time and that excitement of youth and love. And what I like later in the seasons is that they show that just because you are not young, you can also experience that as an adult because they explore these stories not as in depth, but shows that the adult characters, and specifically two male adult teachers, are in love and can experience that love as well and that excitement. So a lot of people can, look at the series and see the possibility. I think the other aspect here is the friendship, that close bond that they have with each other that I wish I had with friends. Now, I grew up in upstate New York, and lots of the homes where I lived were very separated from each other, so I couldn't walk to my friend's house. Also, I grew up in, a Hispanic household. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm Hispanic, Latino, and I appreciate that. But I felt so separated from my community, and not only that, being gay, I couldn't really connect with other people. Like our food was different. I was made fun of for some of the food I had. So to see these group of friends be so accepting and supportive with each other just to be who they are, it's something that I think many of us long for, and even our adulthood. So I found that really endearing and inspirational. And I get teary eyed actually just thinking about it because you have the acceptance of trans individuals and you have the acceptance of lesbian individuals and gay individuals in their youth. The show handles these issues delicately, and in some areas, people go in an unrealistic fashion. But this is like the hope that you could be able to experience love. And they still deal with these issues of coming out and, homophobia and transphobia in specific ways, but it's more so about the experience of the characters. And I really do enjoy that. Now, in my youth, and this is why I think a lot of the depression comes along for the people, and I'll go into why I felt I was depressed, but I had a fear of coming out when I was young. I couldn't come out because nobody else was out. In fact, I was made fun of by my peers and my teachers for just being skinny. And that's why I relate to Charlie, with his eating disorder. Didn't have an eating disorder, but I was made fun of for being so thin. And I felt so uncomfortable in my body. I didn't want to take off my shirt. I didn't want to wear shorts, right? And it felt very lonely, especially when you're trying to go to other people to confide in. You know, I made the attempt to express to, let's say, my principal how I was feeling. And it was kind of shot down with, like, this is not happening, this is not true, because they couldn't believe it. They felt they were fostering environment. But it's very important that you listen. And I was called FAG, in school. I had one day where I was walking home, and I lived far. It was about a 45-minute walk. And I had a classmate who I was not familiar with, but he was on the school bus. He had picked on me many times. He was driving with his friends, and they kept on driving back and forth with their car like they were going to hit me. I had to jump in the ditch as they attempted this 5 times, and I couldn't walk on the street without them, driving their car close and almost going into the ditch. Um, so that was my experience in school. I I didn't have a lot of people to rely on, and I was voted the most quietest in my school because I felt like I couldn't express myself. I didn't have those friends in that support group. So when I see that in this show, it makes me look back for a longing, right? And I think a lot of people experience that and want that. So that's what's really interesting here. Now, after watching all 3 seasons, and specifically in season 3, they deal with heavy issues such as the eating disorder. And the way that the show does it, it does it in such a realistic and delicate sense. This is not just a one episode story arc. It allows you to kind of experience the fine nuance of the experience and show that it's a journey and a struggle, which is, I was thinking in the first episode when they kind of dealt with it, and you're kind of getting the sense that they're moving on, that they would not give it its due justice. I was like, oh my gosh, there's going to be criticism here. And no matter what, I think when you talk about these issues, there will be criticism. But they kept on going, and I thought it was done in a respectful way. Even with them talking about trans issues, I think that they illustrated something very good. So, Elle, one of the characters who is trans, gets to go on this podcast or this show about her art and is blindsided in regards to the conversation because it goes towards trans discussions and the political environment and laws. Now, you get the sense, and I think it's a sense that everybody feels and is greatly misunderstood in today's world, that Elle, like many other trans people and gay people, right, just wants to experience life, just wants to enjoy their art and a freedom of expression, to be who they are. And to be thrusted into these conversations is not something that they ask for. Now, some people argue, well, they're fighting for their rights, they're trying to throw it in our face. No, what they are fighting for is for equality, right? And it's terrible that even in the youth, you see that we still have a long way to go. In many aspects, in order to progress forward, unfortunately, there are some steps that we have to take back. And life is so short, right? That I could understand the youth being frustrated. Like, why can't I have it now? And originally, when I was experiencing this as an older gay person and looking at the youth, I was like, well, these things take time. And I got to see lots of the progress that youth has made on positive changes. And it made me think, wow, I've been deceived in the sense of why can't we have it now? Just because someone else's feeling is going to be hurt? Well, when it comes to equality, equity and equality and compassion, why do we have to wait for that? Right? So, why am I depressed, right? Um, I'm looking at this as like what could have been. I could have had that magical moment, you know, and I see the possibilities of like maybe my boyfriend and I wouldn't have to be so scared with holding hands. In some places we do, right? Um, I get to see like maybe what I missed out in school, right? And that makes a lot of people sad. Also, the show, you get to experience it, and I giggle and I'm excited to see Charlie and Nick experience love. And it's a euphoric feeling that people describe with like using TikTok, the instant gratification, the chemicals that are going on in your brain. And I think that's happening to me as I watch Charlie and Nick experience that. It's an enjoyable experience. I reminisce about the possibilities, right? And then people are going to go, why don't you have that with your boyfriend? Well, one of the things I appreciate that they touch on in season 3 with Nick is that being there to support somebody, you still are going to have your own struggles. My boyfriend 3 years ago had a stroke. It's left him with the inability to eat on his own. He has a tube feeding. He cannot speak as well as he did. In fact, we used to have great conversations, talk for hours. We don't do that anymore. And he's weak on his left arm. And I've been there supportive the whole time. So, and I'm like, sorry if I'm getting emotional. Um, so I've been there supportive for my partner. And I saw that the show, the way they dealt with it, and it was Nick feeling like depressed, sad, and oh, look at I'm crying. Sorry, everybody. Um, and I got to really relate to that because I struggle with that as well. Being there for my partner, feeling alone, feeling guilty for having those feelings, feeling that you need to be strong for that person that you love. And I didn't mean to cry here. Sorry, people. But maybe I'll leave it in. The excitement of love and feeling that because of the world that we live in today, and especially with like Trump being elected, and I'm sorry to get political, right? But seeing with Trump being elected, the possibilities of things escaping, and it makes me sad for the youth. Like I don't only think about myself when I think about things. So, oh my gosh, I could win an Oscar for crying right now. Oh my god. Anyone who watches this in my professional career, we go like, Matthew, you sappy little bastard. But now I'm getting a runny nose and everything. But I apologize. I'm losing train of thought because of my emotions. But having my boyfriend experience that and seeing the show deal with this so delicately, I think that there's lots of connections with the show where it feels like it's talking to you. Like it feels like it's in your head. Whoever wrote this and did this. And I think that's why a lot of people feel depressed because you're looking at the world and you're saying, what is going on? Why can't I have that? What have I missed? Um, what this is like beautiful, right? Um, so I always have to come back to reality afterwards. And there are beautiful moments. I do experience those with my partner and my boyfriend. Um, I just feel like there's so much potential and opportunity, and this is not the show's fault. It just show me like what could be, right? So, I mean, if I were to recommend anybody watching this show, I'll probably say, here's my prescription. There should be a prescription for this show. Maybe you need one episode a week. But it becomes so addictive, the binge watching. And there's not many shows that I binge watch, but this one I definitely did. Um, I would probably say if you're a person that's sensitive, I couldn't watch this alone because I was worried about like what potentially happened. and the trauma and experiences of like what I experienced when I was younger. And then I got to watch with my boyfriend. It was much easier. Um, so I think this is a very rare show. I think that, you know, despite me feeling depressed because of the possibilities and things of that nature, I still want to look at this in a positive light. Look, I finally stopped crying. Sorry, I get emotional, and everybody. It's been a tough couple of years. Um, what's funny is I'm gonna share a side story here. Is I finally have been investing. Look, I have crooked teeth and stuff, but I'm investing in my own personal health and well-being. You know, going to the dentist, going to back to the eye doctor and stuff. And when I was getting in my prescription for my glasses, and I missed the voicemail that the woman had left me to pick up my glasses. I don't wear them because I look like a complete dork, but I wear my contacts usually. And at that time, my boyfriend had a second, what I thought was a stroke. We later turned out to be a seizure. He had banged his head. He was bleeding. He couldn't move. It, even the emergency room said stroke-like symptoms. And a week later, my father had his second heart attack. So she left me the voicemail message. I missed it. I called and I was like, "Oh, I didn't see it." She was like, "No, I left a voicemail." So I go to get my glasses, the fitted, and she was saying, so I was like, "Yeah, I made a mistake," and she was like, "Mm-hmm." I was like, "I've been just really busy," and she was like, "Yeah," and I was like, I took it. I sat there and I took it. I did not say anything, and I wasn't like, "Listen, bitch." you know I just took it, and I don't know why I do that. When it comes to myself, I am a glutton for punishment. I am a punching bag. But when I see other people, like my boyfriend and people in my life that I care about, or even like I'm a manager, when I see employees being unfairly treated, it makes me so upset. Like, I'll speak out, and I've been called like I've been called out on being a little bit aggressive sometimes, but it's because I care so much, and it made me so upset during that moment. And I think about, like, in this world where Charlie and that they have that shared comfort. But like I said, later on, Nick is feeling like I guilty for taking care of himself, and I'm now entering that chapter. And here's my disclaimer, because they do give support in the area for eating disorders. That if you are experiencing depression, if you are feeling alone, reach out. Um, Look at your company's packages. Sometimes they'll have employee assistance programs where you can actually get virtual counseling for free. So, because I know that unfortunately in America and many places, it's about the resources and funds in order to get treatment that also lead to us not helping ourselves. So, I'm going to end this off maybe on a positive note. Hopefully, this is an enjoyable video. But, well, besides me crying, sorry. Um, Hopefully, there's a season 4. It has not been announced. I get so iffy with Netflix in that regard, because, just like I said, a graveyard of unfinished content. And they recently raised the prices. So I'm like, okay, you raised the prices. I hardly watch anything. Watch my viewership, and you see I've been binging this show. So I'm staying subscribed in the hopes that you're going to, renew. So I'll probably do a review. Let me know if you want to see that with Heartstopper. Oh my God. I'm going to have to take this out. So I'll probably do a review of Heartstopper. Let me know if you want to see that. Leave your comments in the chat. Hit the like, subscribe, and until next time, I hope that you are well and safe, and thank you for watching. Bye. I just have to hit the stop. Oh, I gotta scroll. It's on my laptop.